Hello, everybody. Welcome to Alien Addict. We are your daily conspiracy podcast because reptilians don't take days off. Before we bring our guest on and the rest of the panel, I want to remind you that we have some of these delicious t-shirts that you can go and buy from our merch store. Ollie is in the process of sorting new designs out, so they're not going to be here very often. Obviously, this is also an audio podcast. If you're listening on audio, we could really do with the extra reviews. Since we've been asking for reviews, we went up from 39, I believe, to 75 in a week since I asked you to start doing it. So keep doing that because no doubt it will do something and it will help us. So without further ado, Oliver, I pressed the wrong button. Go away. I tried to rename you Oliver, David, and our special guest this evening, Tyler from Total Disclosure. How are we doing, everybody?
Good.
I'm doing swell, ready to get chatting.
Awesome.
And I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be alive.
Are you Ollie? Are you happy to be here?
Yeah. I am.
He's got 3 hours left.
Oh, yeah, he does.
I'll fill you in on this.
Last night, and yeah.
Well, me and Dave, we don't drink very much. I've only recently started this journey of almost sobriety. Oliver has kind of hopped onto this, but he's still in that phase now of where he doesn't know he's trying to do it yet. So because he goes for big stages without drinking, now he looks at a couple of pints and the next day feels like he wants to destroy his own liver so he never has to do it ever again.
Yeah, that's pretty much nailed on, Lee.
I'm 5 years sober.
Oh, well done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 5 years. Almost, I'm going on 6 without a drink.
Wow.
Yeah. I will say this. Your life quality will improve immensely the day that you give that shit up.
Mm-hmm.
It's why do you think that they call it? Why do you think that they call it spirits? Like, you know how they call, I don't know about the UK, but so if you're looking for like a liquor store in the United States, usually what you'll see is beer, like wine, spirits, and more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they call it spirits because, and liquor specifically, because it seemed like you are a different person. You were possessed by spirits, a spirit in the bottle, right? Mm-hmm. So there's no question to me that drinking, there's some connection with some, I think it makes you a little bit more susceptible to maybe something demonic.
Well, we've spoke about this sort of stuff on the podcast before. I believe that all people have some sort of innate, like spiritual antibodies, so that like protectors, like a, what's the right word for it?
Autoimmune response.
Yeah, an immune system, like a spiritual immune system. And I think drinking drugs can like deplete that and leave you susceptible to things. I 100% agree with that. So total disclosure, how did that happen? How did you get into this craziness?
Oh, well, I've always been into it. I've always I had a sighting of a UFO when I was very young. This is before pre-internet. I look young, but I'm 31. And that's, I'm still young. I mean, I know there's a bunch of people out there like, he thinks he's old. But when I was a boy, I had, I was in front of my house. I remember it like it's like one of the clearest memories that I have. And that also strikes me as odd. But I'm standing there. And the kids in the neighborhood hadn't gotten home from school yet. I had stayed home sick, quote unquote, right? Sick. I was fine. I just didn't want to go to school. But so we had a very inclined roof. So I used to take a tennis ball when no one was around. It was a way to kind of play with catch with yourself. You'd throw the tennis ball up onto the roof. It would roll down the roof and it'd pop off the gutter, and you'd have to, then you'd catch it. So I'm mid throw. So I'm looking up, and this circular craft oscillating and moving forward at treetop level just comes right over my head. Classic gunmetal gray, circular, with 3 distinct points that made a triangle. Like if you were to draw a line to each of the circles, it would have made a triangle inside of the circle. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay. I chased it. I went around my house and it was gone. And so I remember that very, very clearly. What I don't remember is the next 24 hours. But then I remember going to the library because, again, no computers. I went to the library, and that's where I found communion. Communion led me down the path. I ended up finding a picture of a flying saucer in that section, and it looked damn near exactly what I saw. Yeah. So that led me to always be the person at the party in high school, in history class, questioning everything, right? I went to film school. I went into Hollywood. I was interviewing actors. My mom got diagnosed with breast cancer. I only include that not for sympathy, not to say, oh, but because it comes up later. So I'm interviewing actors. I go the route of Hollywood after film school. I want to work in Hollywood, but Hollywood's toxic. Everybody sucks. You have to deal with agents. Their agents are they make you feel grimy. Just working on sets was grimy. The glamour that I thought was Hollywood, it was just it's a farce. It's not real. It's a screen. What I call now, it's just a screen memory. It's this idea of what we have, of what we think of Hollywood is like, lights, camera, action. But it's a lot of toxicity. It's a lot of just bad people. So in that time, my mom gets diagnosed with breast cancer, and I end up in the room with her the moment she passes, right? And I don't know how to explain this very well. I've never really been able to explain it very well, but I saw her leave the room. I was talking to her. She was on a lot of morphine. So, I was talking to essentially just her body and her spirit. And, I'm telling her that, I'm glad that she got to see me sober. I'm glad, and then my phone vibrates. And we've all had this. We know what this means. I made a split-second decision in my head. It happened so quickly. I felt my phone buzzing in my pocket. And in that split second, I made the decision. No matter who is texting, calling, or whatever it is, it's not worth it. But I looked at my pants. When I looked up, this ball of, if you ever looked down a hot highway and saw the heat dispersion,
yeah,
put that in a ball. Perfect ball. I saw when I came up from looking at my pants, just a ball of that crossed my field of vision, went out the window. I looked back at my mother, and she had passed away.
That's wild. Wow.
I'm not drawing any conclusions, but what the fuck was that?
I find it interesting you say it went out the window as well, because I know people in healthcare. I know people that have worked in trauma and stuff like that, and they built a hospital where I am, And in the I can't remember. Yeah, it was in the like the trauma room. If you come into like ER, they didn't put any windows in it. It was just a box. And the first thing like some of the people I know that work in there said was like that room's getting haunted because you always leave a window in those rooms to allow things to escape. So I find that really interesting, like you just said.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
But so, okay. All right. So it leaves the room, right? And I don't know what the hell I just saw, but I'm not quick to dismiss, right? So the rest of my brothers and sister, my two brothers and sister come in. I don't tell them. I don't think it's appropriate at that time. We go through our grieving process, whatever. And I wasn't happy with what I was doing. And that's where total disclosure birthed, was when my mom passed. That's when it birthed. Right? Is that was the final domino. I was a closeted UFO participant, right? So I was always aware of what was going on. I knew the 2017 article came out. I paid so much attention to everything. I watched all the documentaries still, but I never talked publicly about it. I did with my friends, like I said, at parties, in history class, I'd question everything. But it wasn't until I saw my mother, essentially, what I think, leave her essence, leave her body, leave the room, and depart. That's what I was like, whoever's playing, because at the time, what I was doing is talking to actors, mostly in the comic book realm. How can you sit there and have a conversation about Batman, as cool as he is, when there is some real shit happening? How can that be more important? Right? It can't. I could not justify doing Pop Culture Corner anymore. So I killed it. Total disclosure was birthed that day. I was like, I need answers, and now I'm set out. Now I'm out of the closet, if you will.
Has your opinion changed on the UFO subject through your journey with total disclosure?
Yes.
Sorry to interject there, but to add to Ollie's thing, maybe if you can explain, like if you had a sighting, maybe if you can explain how you felt at the beginning of doing the podcast, of doing your podcast about these things, and then elaborate on how it's changed.
Yeah. So at the beginning, I was still very much nuts and bolts, right? What I saw was a UFO, I saw a craft, right? That I could wrap my head around. Now, I think the big lie that we're all led to believe growing up is that the world is black and white. Right? It's not till later that the veil's pulled out from you and you realize there's so much more gray than there is. Right? It's not everything can be summed up by a 1 or a 0. So I've gone from really nuts and bolts to, I think that we're dealing with dimensions, not only dimension. I think there's not just a phenomenon, but phenomena converging. A lot of different things happening. So I make of that what you will, but I think that's where the cross sections of the paranormal, the UFO world, or the otherworldly, interdimensional, cryptids. I think there's all and for some reason, consciousness seems to be the key to all of it.
I've been wondering lately whether, like when you look back at like history and folklore and stuff like that, I find it interesting that, like for instance, the Chinese zodiac, I think, is made up of X amount of real animals apart from a dragon. So there's a dragon in there. So for some reason they supposedly stuck one fictitious animal in there. The ideas come to me like just like we have like natural like ebbs and flows in climate over the years. Whether there is something to do with that has, like you say, either something to do with consciousness or however thick the veil is. So when we look at all this crazy folklore from times where you would be forgiven for thinking that they lived in like Tolkien-esque, like a Tolkien-esque world. I wonder if that's actually how it was at some point. And all these things, that whatever this phenomena was interacting much more and much heavier with people at that time. I mean, even if you take like medieval folklore out of it and just go back to what the Egyptians were saying about pyramids being built, and they, for some reason, we have like half beast, half man creatures on hieroglyphs. That could be a similar thing, so where we just go through these phases. And if that's the case, I wonder if we're entering another one of these periods in history now where we start interacting with whatever this is outside of like our idea of physical reality.
Well, I think that there is absolutely something to be said that technology, the way we see it, is right. It's technology, right? But I think the technology our ancestors were using was of a different volition. It had more to do with consciousness, interaction with, and there's just something that has me set that, I mean, we look around and yes, we've become more advanced in our civilization, but have we lost something along the way? I think we have. And I think that is our connection to the missing link, if you will, like why we're here. How are we a species that doesn't know our own fucking origin? I'm sorry. Can I curse?
Yep. Yeah, of course you can.
Okay. All right. Like, how is that possible? How could that be that we are so advanced, so meticulous, but we don't understand our true origin. At least we cannot all agree that there's a consensus reality. Right? You got your religious, people who think the earth is like 6,000 years old. And then, you have the Big Bang, more scientific approach. But then if you look at them, right, there's way more similarities than there are not, right? God said, let there be light. Well, that sounds like the Big Bang to me.
Yeah.
What does it sound like to you? They're talking about the same goddamn thing, right? Sure. I just think the timelines. I think man wrote the Bible, and that's why it's flawed. And I think that we all, as a civilization, need to step back because all the stories that we tell, why are they all so familiar?
Well, we're doing the same thing again with the simulation theory, because simulation theory is just creationism for atheists.
That's a very good. It's a very good analogy. Yeah, I would say so. But it's always got me wondering. What kind of connection did our ancestors have to this intelligence? Because there is clearly, from the micro to the macro, intelligent design to our universe. The similarities in the micro and the macro, just the fact that we're able to have this conversation, that we're able to contemplate this, shows me there's intelligent design to the universe. So to suggest that that we're the only thing, that we're the best of the best, it's just utter BS to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, especially with all the flaws that we have. I mean, we're tearing our own planet down.
It makes me like the depth of the mystery, right? It's so broad. It's so deep. It only, to me anyway, lends itself for me to believe that there's this ecosystem of flora and fauna that exists alongside and with us that we're unable to perceive. And that someone along the line either used to be able to see it and interact with it for their betterment or for their detriment. And that maybe along the line, somebody's maintained that technology, but they just keep it to themselves and they're still doing it. You can even look at the massive scientific discoveries that have been made in the past 100 years. How many of them came to these people in dreams or visions? And even though they got a Nobel Prize, they left that part of it out, right? And like, you found DNA, but we're not telling you how you found DNA. You found out that atoms split this way, but we're not talking about how you found out. There's something more, and it's being hidden from us, actively hidden from us.
The great late Senator Daniel Inouye said, right? There's a shadow government. It operates on its own agenda above the law with its own army, fundraising mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, come on, it's so, I would say 100 years ago, if you surveyed 100 people, 99 would say we are alone in the universe. Today, 99 would say we're not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the conversation, the proof, the burden of proof is shifted. Michio Kaku says this a lot. The burden of proof is shifted from the believer to the non-believer, to the skeptic. Tell me, because in a court of law, we have enough evidence to suggest that there is something happening. So beyond a reasonable doubt, I think we can all agree that something on Earth is happening, and it's something that we don't understand fully. We can't perceive it. We've either lost lost an ability to perceive it, or it's there and it's dormant.
So I have a question for you. Sorry, Ollie, go.
No.
I believe, like, I think you're right with what you say, and I think if you asked a lot of people now, they would say, yeah, we're not alone in the universe. I think 90% of that falls on the New York Times article to this day, congressional hearings, all that sort of stuff. So if that's the case, and I think you're right, why all of a sudden because I believe what you say about the shadow government as well. The only thing I would add to that is I don't think it's a shadow government. I think it's like a shadow covenant that is something that is above everything else, like watchers, keepers, whatever these things or people or entity are. There is something above what we see as the surface level roof of power.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fucking terrifying notion.
But why then did those people suddenly want my mum and dad that didn't believe in UFOs yesterday? Why do they want them to believe in UFOs today? Because that's what's happened. At some point, there's been a shift in what the people at the top want public perception to be. And 20 years ago, they didn't want people talking about UFOs. Now they want everybody talking about UFOs.
That's a good point. What has changed?
Well, the minute government forces asked me to believe in aliens, specifically aliens, was the day I stopped believing in aliens.
I think there was enough of a, like, after World War II, there was been a consistent push to put science as the God in the focus. We don't question science. Scientists are the new priesthood. We've seen that in the last undoings and unhappenings, right? Like these last tragic things. I think someone along the line says, we've got enough depth. We have enough push. We have enough of them thinking. Now we need to bring in the new gods, and we'll explain it in a way that they'll believe and they'll submit unconditionally. Because if they would have done it beforehand, people would have been rebuking that and running back to the church. No one's doing that today.
Shit, Dave. The new gods.
The new gods.
That's
just like the old ones that got kicked out.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy with the kids, and I just thought maybe in all this, like the movies and what have you, they are telling us something, because those in Guardians of the Galaxy,
it goes further back.
Yeah, it's like the so-called aliens, but they are gods.
Think about the movies, right? They're based on the comics. What just like Steven Spielberg in Close Encounters, right? How we think the government kind of went to, or we know that Alan Hynek was a consultant for the film, that Spielberg had a lot of access to Project Blue Book. Well, what was a huge form, if not the biggest form of entertainment for people in the 40, I would say 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, into the 70s, is comic books, right? So who's to say that they didn't call Stan Lee and give him some ideas? Why is Thor an Avenger?
Yeah.
Right. So to your point about Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, yes, I think what they're doing is they're solidifying the fact that the cosmos is teeming with life.
Yeah. You know what I thought was interesting, since we're talking about movie references, which I think are always a good way to at least spur on interesting conversation. When you look at that in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and I just watched it recently, I finally kind of dawned on me, maybe in this weird way that maybe I hadn't noticed before, but it was this guy's journey and all this. I don't really think it was so much about the journey as it was illustrating a point. Like, if it's an acknowledgement, say it's the government acknowledging something, which is, we're on a conspiracy show. We can do outlandish things. What would be the thing that they're acknowledging the most? Is it that there are some kind of being that they're aware of and they're trying to communicate with? Maybe. Or is it that there's some other intelligence that chooses who it wants to communicate with, and the government monitors, interferes with those people, tries to intercept if it possible, because they want the conversation that those things aren't interested in having with them. They want to have with the people they already picked. It would make sense if you follow the phenomenon of how many people see things and then have paranormal activity. Like, they live unusual lives that maybe to them seem normal, but if you compare it side by side with anyone with a vanilla cookie cutter life, they just start stacking experiences.
Yeah. I agree.
It's an interesting thing.
It is.
See,
go ahead.
No, go.
Well, I forgot now, so. In and out.
See, I've been slowly terrifying myself, actually, over the past few days about things, and but this goes back to what Dave was saying about the idea of ushering in new gods, and then that got me thinking about what we've been through, like with the pandemic, and the whole idea of, like, what we kept hearing, the idea of this, like, the Great Reset. And it only dawned on me maybe yesterday or day before, when I was looking at certain stuff, because I've been looking into, like, the orphan trains in the US, and it suddenly dawned on me when I was looking at that. I thought, oh, hang on a second. So, right, if we look at this from, like, the conspiracy lens of the Great Reset, and we think of it as being like some sort of new monetary system that's being brought in, and you will be shifted over from like fiat currency to some sort of digital euro book thing, and it will all be controlled on, like, an app with a social credit score and stuff. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's a shift, that's a change, but it's not like a great reset. And then when I started looking into this, the orphan train thing, and it's the quick synopsis that I was reading was saying that there was between, like, 1854 and 1929, they shifted 200,000 kids from supposedly like overcrowded cities in the US, like to rural areas in the Midwest. Now, the official words for this is that these 200,000 kids that were shifted were either abandoned or put up for so abandoned or unwanted, which I would have thought was the same thing. So even if you think about it, even if you say, right, well, we'll average it out at a that there was 200,000 kids, but they both came as brothers and sisters from two child families. You're still missing 100,000 pairs of parents. That's 200,000 parents from this. So where did these kids come from that were shipped around the country? Why was this? Why do we only have like why does our records go back that long? So shaky and so sketchy. And essentially like because I've been, for anyone that hasn't found the YouTube channel yet, on my lunch break, I implore you to go and find it. If you're interested in like hidden history stuff, maybe like Tartaria like thing, like where the sort of old world has gone, I don't think anybody is doing a better job than on my lunch break. And if for some reason someone listens to this that either knows him or is in contact with him, I'd fucking love to get him on this show. But yeah, that's the way I'm kind of terrifying myself with this stuff now. Is maybe Dave's right. Maybe this is the ushering in of new gods. Maybe this has happened multiple times, and this entity that exists above government and above like the service level just knows that there's a certain point we can let humanity get to before we start losing control of it, before we get like, I don't know, for instance, let's say the instantaneous transfer of information. Let's say the ability for four people in completely different parts of the world to get together and talk to this in front of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people through multiple platforms that they can do instantaneously at once, allowing one person to become a news network.
Right.
Maybe that's happened multiple times. And when that happens, they have to hit the great reset button in order to keep control on humanity.
So this is our fault.
That's the Tower of Babel.
Mm-hmm.
Is it not?
Yeah.
Think about every single time, right? Every single time that because we're on the precipice of no language barrier, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Samsung buds that can translate in real time.
Yeah.
Right. Why were humans struck down? Right? Because we got too close to the gods. And, that's when they decided, all right, sever the language, right? Split them up, separate languages. So factionalism is what is keeping us from a united front. And we look at the UFO community. Just look at the UFO community. Factions upon factions.
Oh, yeah.
You got your Dr. Greer lovers. Dr. Greed. I mean Greer. Sorry, misspoke. Cough. Just kidding. The Elizondo folk.
Get the horse picture out, Ollie.
The horse.
Show him the horse picture. Finish him off.
The PG-13 one. Yeah.
There you go.
Bro. Oh, that was so perfect. Clip that. Timestamp it, somebody.
We can't figure out why he won't come on the show. We've been asking for years.
Well, I tell you what, you wouldn't get a word in edgewise. Dude, he's so fucking jacked, man. Look at that guy. That guy's leading Disclosure. And if you don't like it, fucking flat. Just kidding. But even in the community, we can't get it together. We factionalize. We got our, camps. It's like, and then Dr. Greer, honestly, is a good case study, right? Because I think he did start with some good intentions. I think he started pure and was corrupted by money, greed, and essentially an untapped well of money. I mean, the guy charges $6,000 to meditate on a wooden spike. What the fuck is going on? Who's paying that?
Do you have that picture of him with all those notable figures? I believe that was the first picture he was referencing.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
Have you seen this before?
The Rockefeller Ranch picture, yes. So wow. I haven't seen this in a while though. So look at why did my camera just shut off?
We can't be
They're
talking
onto
about
us.
certain these things. They know. You
Dude,
can't talk
literally.
about Bigelow and Linda Moulton Howe cozying up.
I think that Greer really did start with pure intentions. I think he was corrupted along the way, but I think he's a really good case study in this, in the sense that he preaches that all new non-human intelligence is they've advanced past hostility. They've advanced past. They're all our brothers. They're here to help us. We should welcome them with open arms, right? And we all need to come together as one community. Yet every single person that comes out and tries to shed more light, he's the first person to call them a disinformation agent. Right? So he's not practicing what he preaches. So it's hard for me to take a guy like that serious.
Yeah, you're getting the same thing right now, aren't you, with David Icke? And
yes,
he will sit there, say how he's been persecuted over the years, and then will instantly try and throw Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Andrew Tate, anyone that happens to come up, he'll launch them under the bus as being like part of the problem. And you go, well, hang on a second, because they seem to be saying okay things about you. So what's the deal here? Steven Greer thing.
I've always wondered that with Ike. Why he's like that.
The Steven Greer thing, I think you're right. I think he probably started with some sort of pure intentions. I mean, I remember
he just parked his ass at Money Making Avenue and never left.
I don't even necessarily think it's that, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's obviously part of it. I think the guy has clearly made some money and is making money through what he's doing. But you've got to wonder why. I mean, look at the Disclosure Project, for instance. The Disclosure Project, if we look at like these things at face value, should have been disclosure. There was enough people and enough credible people that came forward with stories that the world should have took notice. The world didn't take notice. The world didn't care. We were far too busy with everything else. And I wonder whether that was like, oh, okay, well, I tried. And I still think, like, when you watch the documentaries with him on, I still think he means what he says. Like we often say this. I think me and Dave brought this on a podcast the other day because we were talking about who was it? Who we were talking about, Dave, that constantly gets thrown under like the shill bus and stuff like that. Us, yeah.
Pretty sure it's us.
I don't believe in the lifetime actor theory. Oh, he's dead. No, yeah, I don't believe in the lifetime actor theory. I think the idea that Greer could just be like on the grift all the time, not care about what he's doing, not care about or even believe what he's saying. I think the best salesmen believe in the product they're trying to sell.
They do, and I think
that's why Ollie's such a good dildo salesman.
I am a good dildo salesman, the best.
Yeah,
he tastes everyone himself,
even the returns.
Exactly, quality assurance.
Think about all the stories that Greer has inserted himself into.
Oh,
right.
That's what she said.
He has a need to be in the mix of all of it. He's always somehow a part of it. And I'm not going to say I don't watch every documentary, every podcast that he goes on, because I do. And I think that more of the UFO community, more of the paranormal, when I say UFO community, I mean everything, all related phenomena. I think we all need to be a little bit better at remaining neutral and hearing what everybody has to say and start separating the wheat from the chaff, right? Take what you need, right? Start looking for the dots, connecting them, right? Because even though Greer is maybe out of touch with some things, the guy does know stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt, right? There's no doubt that he knows things and that he has talked. I mean, the picture you just showed. I mean, just look at that picture. Look at the amount of look at the heavy hitters there.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So that's, and then you can make that argument. Look, I've had Linda on the show. Actually, that's the only one I've had on out of that group. But is that Bigelow there?
Yes, they're snuggled together.
Holy
Next time
shit.
you have her on the show, you should ask her about that.
Well, I never noticed that Bigelow was in that picture. Oh, damn.
I'd be curious to know what the Rockefeller JY Ranch in Wyoming is really like. I get what you're saying, though. For Greer, the way I look at it with Greer, I think he started out with the best of intentions. I think he's actually done a tremendous amount of good for the quote-unquote, air quote, UFO community, whatever that means. But he's bringing the topic up to a lot of people because he has valid credentials. People will take him seriously. And he's spoken to how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have heard this story from him and at least sparked their curiosity moving forward.
Bingo.
He's done that. He's done more than any of us.
Bingo.
Right? He has gotten people into the subject to question the narrative, to get involved and understand that there is something going on. And that should absolutely be commended. I would love to have a conversation with him.
Me too.
And see what the change is, because it does seem to be a perceptible change in things. But if anything, I think, what is it? He just got an award here recently, right? Yeah, and good for him. He deserves.
From who?
More. I forget who it was. I can't think.
It wasn't the Cosmic Conscious Awards, was it?
I don't know.
Not sure. I'll find out.
Yeah, but he should get more. I mean, it's easy for people who are deep into the subject to hate on the guy because they don't think he does enough. It's the same people. Anytime a documentary comes to people, well, he didn't have this information and we already know all that. No one takes into account that the majority of the population doesn't know these things. And when they come out, it is new to them. To the diehard crazies like us, who are very mentally unwell, yeah, we're all about it, right? Like that's not enough. We need more. But for, to John Jones living down the street and Mr. Smith, who aren't into this, him and his wife happen to catch the documentary and they're, whoa, he's a real emergency room doctor talking about this stuff.
And
maybe
left
we should
that
look into
career.
He left that career.
And I did look, I did actually vet, because I was always a little weary about that. I looked into it. The dude was making mucho. I mean, he was the lead. Like, he was above. So I don't know what it means in the medical world, but he was the supervisor of this, like that. So he had a cushy job and he left it to pursue this. So I think there is one thing to be said about the UFO community and the paranormal community is that we see this often. It's someone has an experience and it's unlike any other topic or niche or hobby, because once it touches you, you become obsessed. And this is the only topic, like I said, that I've seen people literally drop everything and just go full on course correction. I want answers, and that's what I'm doing for the rest of my life. What other thing, what other topic, what other, I don't really know how to say it, but what other thing would make someone like that, make someone act that way, make someone uproot their
Heroin.
life? Well, aside from addiction,
Fentanyl.
hookers, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
all right.
Well, only if you're drowning them. That's
Yeah.
it's hard to give up.
Right.
Tell me about it.
But you see what I'm saying?
Oh,
I
yeah,
ju-
no, definitely.
I just had Robert Salas on the
Mhm.
show. Who's my
It was a really good show. That was your last show, wasn't it? I think.
That was my last show, yes.
Yeah.
And he was part of that disclosure project. I don't know if you remember the original 2001 disclosure project. Someone from my audience brought it up. That disclosure project 1.0 happens. What happens a month later? 9/11.
Mm.
Because like you said, that should have been disclosure right there.
Yeah.
Immediate. Something takes hold of the news cycle immediately after.
The Disclosure Project, like the first one, reminds me somewhat of, because we just had Bart Sabrell on last week, and when we talked about the moon show, I said to him, like towards the end of our interview with him, that I think a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. If that had been released in a internet world where it would have been shared on multiple video sites and millions of people would have seen it, I think that would have changed the world. Yeah, it would have changed the world. The cleanup operation that would have had to have gone on from the moon hoax team, because I don't believe we went to the moon. Would have had to be it would have been impossible. It would have been.
You don't think we went to the moon?
No, not for a second.
Who am I talking to here?
Lee.
I was gonna say I just had a different screen up. Who doesn't believe?
I don't believe we went to the moon.
I don't believe we went to the moon either.
But neither of you?
Ollie, come on, make a pyramid.
I don't believe the footage we saw was
There
real.
That's fair. That's fair.
There
Yeah,
you
I'll say
go.
that.
Now you're saying now we're on the right path.
Do I know? I think. Okay, if we went to the moon, we're there now. We're still there. I don't believe that they stopped. If they did go, they didn't stop.
I was gonna say you can't believe in a secret fucking government and not think we've been to the moon.
I don't know. I think they can go. I think that there's investigators, Chad and Sherry. It's like, we didn't go to the moon. I think that they would be more obsessed with the occults and control measures here. Because when I look at secret emails, I don't see too much about the secret space program or agency, but I do see things where world leaders are talking about sacrificing chickens to Moloch.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're not, hey, get Captain Kirk ready for the beam me up to Mars. But they're like, hey, get the chicken ready because we're going to cut the head off that with some walnut sauce and dance naked in the moonlight under fire. Nah, we're just palling around. All the guys are doing it. All the guys are doing it. Little grab ass, no big deal. But bring the children.
Yeah. The amount of times I've just sent joke emails to people talking about making sacrifices to Baphomet. I can't count those emails.
I sent 666 today.
I knew that thumbnail was
right.
Oh man, I gotta chat with you fellas more. Oh God, I haven't laughed like that in a while. But,
so I asked you earlier, what do you think? So obviously you've done your research on this subject. Where are you now?
Where am I now? I'm
in this subject. Where's your headspace with this?
He's on a podcast, Ollie. Come on, you're here.
I was gonna say, I was gonna make the the joke. I'm inframing him. But I think that we're dealing with a much more complex. I used to think that it was all aliens, right? It was all beings from other planets that were coming here, you know, and
now you think the Earth's flat and it's run by reptilians.
A little bit more every day, man.
But you know what's weird? I was in the UN building. I don't know if you've ever been there, but in the UN building hangs a flat Earth map.
Yeah. Wild. Also, I believe the
I
map.
saw a picture of it the other day, so it sparked it.
Yeah, I believe the map on the Air Force One as well is a flat Earth map.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all essentially flat Earth maps.
Mm-hmm.
And
Any map that's on like a logo like that tends to reflect. And listen, I don't know about the flat Earth thing. I don't.
I believe the way you're speaking, we have a T-shirt for you.
Yeah,
we have a T-shirt for you, and it feels like you should be wearing that.
She's not a flat earther.
How much is it?
I don't know.
I'm not sure, Ollie. How much for T-shirts?
No idea.
Should I buy that right now?
I think they're like
reasonable.
$20
They are reasonable.
Reasonable, yeah.
You got a great audience too. Yeah, I got.
They're okay.
I'm like
they're on their medication today.
I'm like shadow banned on YouTube for some reason. My podcast has an average 100,000 listeners. Average. So I'm not trying to brag, but on YouTube I could barely crack 600 views. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, hey man. I mean, our audio, we're getting like 200. So
yeah.
No, just 200.
200,000?
Nope.
So it's 200. Backwards.
Yeah, one less than 201, one more than 199.
So we should come together, scissor.
I don't think we can do that on camera, or at least not without an OnlyFans.
No, but back to it, guys. That was a fucking amazing joke, by the way. Where I'm at now is I just think there's so much more going on, and I think that like I said, it's kind of like this notion that the big reveal, right? When we're young, we look up to our parents and any adult, honestly, and we say they know everything. They know everything because they're an adult, so they know everything, right? It's not until a little bit later in life that we realize that our parents, they're just fucking people. And they're winging it day by day, just like Joe, Dick, and Harry down the street, just like Tom, Sally, and Joe over on the block, just like everybody is. So, right, it's this big secret. It's the same thing with the world that we're taught. It's black and white. It's not, right?
Yeah.
Like we're taught that this desk is real. I can see it. I can feel it, right? And what we can see, touch, and feel, that's what's real, right? Science is real, right? Because we can test it. We can measure it. We can yada yada. Okay, I get that. But I'm seeing a lot more gray now than I ever have before.
Yeah.
That's where I am. Right?
That's the healthy place to be. That's the natural evolution of logic. That logic was never meant to be those who believe themselves to be better and have made up initials to put behind their name because they hang out for a really long time at school with a bunch of really old people, and how they get the grades are very questionable depending on chest size, bust size, and willingness to, humiliate themselves. So why would we put ourselves under the judgment of them instead of question it for ourselves? And again, it's another trick that's been played, right? It's a trick that's been played on the populace that they are better and more intelligent than you. You should listen to them because they speak loudly. If you tell a lie loud enough, long enough, it becomes the truth. And that has been mastered. and the masses have been fooled into believing that they are less than they are. When the reality is people are intelligent and capable and competent, and they can judge for themselves, and they should. They should be given the evidence and not just the word of strangers on TV that we don't know their background, especially when you find out that they dress up like a dog and beat other people with steel dildos, and they hold lectures on it, and they like to steal women's clothing from airports. Like, that's not the person you put in charge of nuclear security, of waste. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, we should have all been made more aware of that before this was going on.
Why do you think we have this? Why do you think the Epstein list didn't come out?
Who? Never heard of him.
Yeah. Why do you think that? Why do you think we'll never know who P. Diddy had information on?
I think we do know. I think we do know who he had it on. I guarantee it was someone at federal and government levels as quickly as those charges disappeared.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, I think we could run that to the top of Homeland Security and the FBI and see the people who are directly, like, who's the American Attorney General for Southern Florida who was in charge of that, who made that go away? Oh, you used to go to Diddy's parties. Cool. Can we see your cell phone?
Yeah. Right. Right. So Julian Dory, I don't know if you guys know Julian.
Yeah,
but
heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's not like a friend of mine. We've conversed here and there. But someone made a remark to him almost 7 to 8 years ago. And it was like, and he kind of like brushed it off. And it was like, if you get invited to a P. Diddy party, don't go. And like, he just was like, what? And they just moved on, right? He didn't know what it meant. Hindsight being 2020, right? Fucking, I mean, that's we. Now think about, and anyone worth their salt in the intelligence world will tell you that if you find one mole, there's at least two more. At least. So P. Diddy getting caught. I mean, there's probably people like P. Diddy who have, the sex, walls, the double mirrors, that kind of shit. There's probably one of the 3 of 5 of those in every major industry, right? Big
100%.
pharma, big tech, Hollywood, definitely Hollywood. I mean, there's no question about it. That's why I left. Just any major industry, right? There's you got your honeypots, and there's people. That's what we've done.
So the question then is the question then has to be why. I understand, I think we know the answer. So
Power.
It's a bit of a hypothetical, but it makes sense. Obviously, like I don't care whether you are like the Kremlin, Mossad, whatever it is. If you can get a president or a top level politician in the bag, it's worth having a politician like that in the bag.
You mean like Feng Feng's boyfriend? The Chinese affirmed agent Feng Feng, who is dating a United States congressman and a mayor and a couple other people. Feng Feng getting bang bang.
But this is why this control system, this is why this control system is much bigger than that. Because that's fine. Like the idea of corruptible politicians, brilliant.
Yeah.
So why are we doing it with the entertainment industry then? Why? Because I'm not alleging anything here.
No, it makes sense, bro. They're the idols. You have to control the idols of the masses.
They are the new gods. If you want to talk about gods, I mean, look at the way people fucking literally. I mean, right? Look at NSYNC. I know this is like a throwback, right? But I mean, you could say about Justin Bieber, like the amount of people that would lose their goddamn minds when that guy was just maybe in 100 to 200 yards of them.
Yeah,
like,
man. Well, look at all the old videos of the Beatles and stuff like that.
Right.
Fucking insane.
Like going bananas. So celebrities are the new. I mean, now we see it yearning over into politics. Everything's coming back into politics, and it's. I mean, our fathers and their fathers. Politics was never in.
Yeah.
Politics stayed in politics.
Correct.
And if it wasn't in politics, it would be backroom conversations that you were having. and it didn't come out into the world, right?
Yeah.
Not the way it is now.
Before we non-surgically transition to a different topic, something that I find we should definitely look at and at least have an intellectual thought about, right? A little gaming up there. I agree with you. I think that the golden idols that are put out that are celebrities and they're groomed for that. So they have influence, wealth, and fame. But just like we were saying before, there's always something above that's pulling those strings. And if you're one of these uber celebrities who you're unto yourself, this little kingdom, right, of getting worshipped and, adored by the masses, money's thrown at you, everything's thrown at you.
Mm-hmm.
How do they wrangle them into Maria Abramovich's spirit cooking parties and they look so unhappy about being there? But they're all there. They're all toting the line. They're all eating the blood and semen cake. You know what I mean? As they bow and kiss her feet. Right?
I mean,
Who pulled those strings? Whoa.
I hate to say this publicly.
What do you
but
say?
Alex Jones, he might not be so far off.
No, I think he's just gone crazy from knowing the truth.
He's definitely way off.
Yeah.
On one issue.
Probably a couple. Yeah.
Probably multiple.
Yeah, probably a couple.
But there's a lot of shit that guy, he broke a while back.
Well,
right?
do the crazy thing, because obviously we're not going to talk about that one thing that he was definitely wrong about. But what I will point out about that one thing that he was definitely wrong about is I remember that being the talk of the internet back in old school YouTube days, and there was so many more people. There was so many more people out there saying so much more stuff about that than the 20 minutes that he talked about on a podcast.
Which and I've never seen the action happen so swiftly where every single company unanimously boom dropped it.
Yeah, so and that was a floodgate as well, because there was a load of other people went after that as well, because that's they took from Ike to Milo Yiannopoulos. There was this big glut where at the time social media and the Silicon Valley elites took out problematic people. It didn't matter whether they were problematic conspiracy theorists or just political commentators. They took the dissidents out, and that was like the worst, bleakest, boring time of X or Twitter back then.
It seems strange to me that, how do I talk about this in a safe way? You know what? We can't.
On a podcast. We talk about it tomorrow on a podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let that one just ride away. Yeah.
So maybe we can transition. I know we got like 17 minutes left.
I was literally going to say this. We talk about your documentary.
Yeah, we the trailer.
Hey, before we transition, I'm keeping my penis. I'm just letting you know.
What?
You can do that now, man.
No,
you can.
Oh my God!
Yeah. You don't have to cut it off. Bro.
That joke went so far over my head.
As long as it doesn't go in your ass, that's what you don't want.
And keep your dick and balls.
That was fucking brilliant, man. Can you give me 20 seconds? I just want to grab my notebook that has all the notes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What'd you guys do this weekend?
I thought it was in the two notebooks that I have.
I tried one of Ollie's dildos.
Yeah, how do they taste?
Delicious.
I've got mine on order. I made some hot sauce and got it taste tested at a party.
How did that go?
They love it. I wish I could send you guys a couple bottles.
Yeah, I love hot sauce as well.
I think the fentanyl would get it stopped though.
Oh, yeah. I made jerky for the first time.
Yeah,
it was.
You got calluses, or are you still good? Do you lube it?
I've had calluses for ages. That's fine. Yeah. But no, it was a roaring success. It was delicious. What?
When you said you made jerky, I looked up how to make it. I thought, I'm going to have to do this.
You don't know how to dehydrate meat?
I like
what the hell's going on in your country? Do you guys have robot brothels too?
Not yet.
Oh my God. Fucking, we deserve to be judged.
Well,
we deserve it.
Wasn't prepared for that.
Sorry about that.
No worries,
buddy.
buddy.
I was just talking about robot brothels.
Never been.
Good. Good.
I heard they're fun.
I think we deserve to be judged, and it is the downfall of humanity that they have robot. Like, we're taking jobs from prostitutes.
I know
I didn't see AI doing that.
Yeah.
Never called
And
that one.
what
Lawyers,
what
sure.
Dave's
Prostitutes.
what Dave's
What?
what Dave's truly worried about is the fact that you
drown a
can't
robot.
drown a robot. You can't drown a
Can't.
robot prostitute. You'll get
No.
electrocuted.
Dude, they don't look at you in the eyes
Yeah,
the same
or
way.
they're getting more realistic. I've seen them. The China, they're like doing like biological skin. It's creepy. But
Of course they are.
speaking of that, so my girlfriend and I, we set on an adventure because we talked about my YouTube and the disproportionality between the viewership. And so we decided that we're going to continue putting the podcast out on YouTube, but why don't we use my skill set? I have enough equipment to house a small TV studio. Why don't we start doing more like boots on the ground investigation? And I was like, oh my God, that's such a good idea. I think that's a really good way to kind of switch things up. And I was like, I got the perfect story. I grew up 5 minutes from the most haunted road in New England. It is known as Dudley Road. Anyone can look it up. Dudley Road, it's on the border of Billerica and Bedford, Massachusetts. And it's let's just say that a lot of the lore for the town, it's a big hub. It was a big hub, and there was a big battle that was fought between the natives of the land and the colonials. And this happened in northern Billerica, but it did spread. But again, that's neither here nor there. It doesn't really play into the story that I'm telling. So Dudley Road, now people from the town, this is a road that has stories passed down, and you'll hear it in the trailer, passed down through generations. But I want to emphasize before we show the trailer that at the time that this trailer was created, it was at the time a YouTube video that we were doing. By happenstance, we ended up on a tour that brought us from Dudley Road to Salem, Massachusetts, and the witch trials. And then the witches and medium in Salem told us that my story ended in Bridgewater. What the fuck does that mean? I was like, what's in Bridgewater? Lo and behold, there's something called the Bridgewater Triangle, right? So this thing just grew. And all of a sudden it went from a YouTube short film to a legitimate feature film. We don't have a official trailer for the movie, but what we're going to show you is what I'm now calling it's a teaser. It just shows you a little bit into the larger picture. So do you mind if I just throw that up now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, you would have to add it. Dudley Road boasts a rich history with tales dating back centuries, but it's not just its colonial charm that draws attention. It's the stories, whispered in hushed tones, passed down through generations. That's that altar. Now again,
Cool, mate.
yeah. Now again, it said coming this October. That is not the case anymore. So we've renamed the project Cursed Echoes Beyond the Veil. We have found some the amount, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but the amount of connections between Billerica and Salem and the witch trials. Everyone knows about the Salem witch trials, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Queen of Witches. Now, in the documentary, in the trailer, there are some stone anomalies that I show. Those are the stone anomalies that are in the woods where these. So the legend of Dudley Road is a group of nuns were practicing witchcraft. There's a convent on Dudley Road. Now, this convent, it's shrouded in mystery, to say the least. But the nuns were caught having practiced witchcraft. Now, in the 16th century, not only being a woman of God, but this is like the highest of treason that you can commit, right? Is witchcraft. Because not only are you betraying God, but you're using dark magic, right? And potentially drawing from demonic power instead. So you could see that this would be an ultimate treasonous act of a nun. So the nuns were hanged out on you see in the in the trailer, there's a tree. That's allegedly where they were hanged. They now haunt the road. I have dozens of witnesses, myself included, that have seen, experienced weird shit on the road, from orbs of light to full body apparitions to your car just dying. It's spooky as hell. The further we dug into Dudley Road, turns out that Dudley Road, Thomas Dudley, his family, if you chain it all the way up, or chain it all the way back, I should say, they are the Pickmans. The Pickmans got rich in Salem off of the boating industry. Now, funny story about the boating industry in Salem. Salem was the second largest port outside of Boston. So Blackbeard's apprentice was trained out of Salem. A lot of high-profile pirates came out of Salem. So they used to employ the witches after building a new ship. And witches, we use with air quotes because it was more like, if we were to say it now, it'd be more holistic, right? Blessings, herbal, that kind of stuff. Like, if anyone's been to Salem, you know what I'm talking about. It's the witchcraft that's presented to you there now. And it's ironic that, now it's a town where it's the exact opposite. It's celebrated, right? But the Pickmans got their wealth from the shipping industry. They were shipbuilders, and they would often employ witches, quote unquote, again, to come and bless their ships for pillage and plunder. It wasn't until later that they turned on the witches for greed and other circumstances, mass hysteria being one of them, mostly power and greed. What I'm getting at is, it seems that the land is what is holding the atrocities committed by man. Corruption, greed, that yearning for power creates some sort of resonance in the land. Now, I think we're dealing with some sort of cursed echo. And that's where I get my idea for like a ghost, because many of the people that I talk to in Salem, in Bridgewater, and on Dudley Road have seen a lady in white or people in colonial era clothing. Why is this? So are we just seeing beyond the veil some sort of, it's not that the ghost we can interact with, right? It's an echo of the past held there by the land and held there by the atrocities by man that allowed us to be corrupted in the first place, right? We trace all of that back, we trace it back to the garden, right? The serpent in the garden corrupted mankind, right? So this story that we're telling, it really dives deep into that and to this idea of witchcraft, the devil. You saw the altar I was talking about. It's built into the side of a hill, looks like a doorway into another world, has gemstones built into the top of it. And I mean, it's clearly made. Oh, and by the way, Thomas Dudley, the road is named after him. It's also a state protected reservation, so they can't alter anything.
Right.
They can't tear anything down. They can't. It's really odd. And I really don't want to spoil, because if I keep going, I'm going to spoil a lot of the kind of alluring mystery to it. But I think I found where the nuns were practicing witchcraft. That altar. At the bottom, it says, "Drink from the fountain," in some language that we had to I don't know exactly what language is off the top of my head, but at the base of it, it says, "Drink from the fountain." And anyone familiar with alchemy will know that the upside down triangle is the symbol for water. UFOs, paranormal. What is a big commonality? Bodies of water, right? The Bridgewater Triangle. It is literally, the center of it is a body of water, the Hockomock Swamp, right? Why did the witches tell me that my story ended there? I'll tell you why. It's in the movie.
Right.
I can't go much further than that without spoiling everything.
So when's the movie out?
Watching this.
It'll be out before the end of the year.
Right.
Okay.
October is just not reasonable at this point. But
Where can our people find it?
if subscribe on YouTube, I'm sharing all updates there. No matter what, it will go out on YouTube, but it might be behind the member paywall. I'm also in talks right now with Tubi.
Right.
So that's what we're hoping for. But we're also anyone who's local to New England, we're gonna do a premiere. So get in contact with me. My email's ty@totaldisclosure. ty.totaldisclosure@gmail.com, or just message me at disclosurepod on Twitter. The official trailer will make its debut in October. And I got a bunch of great people working with me. We're actually doing a reshoot this Friday, and it's safe. So I have a nun outfit that we got, and we're gonna pay a little homage.
This is the transition
baby.
part. This is the transition part. We were all waiting for it.
Where my girlfriend is gonna dress up as a nun, and we have a B-roll. So we have I kind of like. So we don't know the exact legend of Dudley Road. All we know is parts of it, right? Is that the nuns were hanged. So basically what I did was I created my own story around it, and I added dialogue. That's how the movie opens. So when we're going to do the reshoots, we're doing one scene in specific where she's going to be kneeling in front of that altar, and she's going to be chanting a portal open, a legitimate Enochi Latin spell, a portal opening spell, and we are going to dump fake blood on her and pay homage to Carrie. So
It doesn't have to be fake. I know a guy. It's like $30. I get you like 20 gallons.
yeah.
Just no
So,
questions.
We've been really, really hard at work on this. And the final, like that little teaser, I wish that never got out there because what I didn't have the scope, but like I said, I think I was led down a path because what I experienced in the Bridgewater Triangle made me a believer. And it's on camera.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch. I'm down.
Dude, it's
Sold.
fucked.
I'm sold.
Yeah, it's a two-part. It's going to be 2 parts. First part will be the Dudley Salem. Second part will be Bridgewater, and they will together. It'll be about 3.5 hours.
Nice.
I can't wait.
So that's why. That's why. And then I just want to tease this.
Mhm.
The reason I pulled back and I'm working so much harder on this movie is because Philip Mantle and Irina Scott, Dr. Irina Scott, came to me with a proposition. And I'll leave it there. It's a film proposition.
Awesome.
So if you type their names into Google, just look at the work they've done together, and you could probably deduce what the next project is and why the success of the project I'm working on now kind of hinders whether I get that job.
Right.
Right. So now I'm putting. I've brought 2 more filmmakers on. I want to throw a shout out to the Bridgewater Paranormal Investigators. Without them, I would not have been able to do justice to the Bridgewater segment. They brought me to all the hot spots and all the witnesses I got to talk to. They facilitated a lot of that. It was amazing. But we interacted with something, a lot of things.
It's a life-changing experience when something like that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't include it in my, like when you asked me earlier, like I define my 2 sightings as the UFO and the thing that happened with my mother, right? Everything else is a result of me poking.
Yeah.
So
we, at least Lee and I, had a shared experience that we will be happy to tell you about as we transition to the other show.
Okay.
Oh, so people have to go over there to hear it.
All right. All right. So, how you guys usually wrap this up?
Really roughly, if I'm perfectly honest.
We don't like
square,
people. Give us money.
Square
whatever.
peg, round hole.
Yeah.
That type of thing. But
I had a great time.
Hopefully we'll hang out again either on this show or we'll come over to your podcast and hang out and have a chat about stuff as well. That'd be great too. The
door's always open.
Well, what Dave was saying there was we did a ghost hunt in an abandoned prison, and I'll be dead honest. I went in as 100% skeptic. I thought we were going to go in there dark and cold for 8 hours, and what ended up happening was we had in context communication from a spirit box in the room we were in. And I thought that shit was bullshit. Blew my tiny mind open. So yeah, we'd love to tell you more about that. It's a shame we've got to cut and run so much for anyone else, because we usually go a little bit longer than this on shows sometimes. Yeah. But the 3 of us have to nip off, and we're going to go and do Strange Sauna with Greg, and so make sure you keep an eye out for Strange Sauna. Obviously, we will be back tomorrow for our Monday evening podcast that you'll be able to listen to on Tuesday or Monday night.
Hang out for just a second with us, Ty, as we roll these S credits, because everyone always bumps off away from us.
No, I'm a StreamYard guy, so I know.
Perfect.
Cheers, guys. We will see you tomorrow because
and you can find. By the way, I shameless plug. I'm gonna do it.
Absolutely.
Go.
YouTube, Total Disclosure, and then on any podcast platform, just search Total Disclosure. Look for the red UFO, and you're in the right place. Our latest episode is up right now with Robert Salas. He was the nuclear, so he had his hand on the nuclear key when a UFO shut down 10 nukes at Maelstrom Air Force Base.
Wow.
All right. Thank you,
Good
guys.
talking to people.
No, thank you, buddy. Cheers, guys. We'll see you soon.